Good evening once again. I'm Ali Velshi in for Brian Williams on this day 79 of the Biden administration. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is now facing a new and potentially much more serious level of legal jeopardy. He's under federal investigation for potential sex trafficking, possibly involving a minor. And that case grew out of a broader probe involving a close associate and ally, a man named Joel Greenberg, who's facing an array of federal charges himself, also including sex trafficking. It appears tonight that Greenberg may be ready to strike a plea deal with federal prosecutors, a move that presumably would bolster their case against Matt Gaetz. Greenberg was not in court today, but his lawyer said his client likely will take a plea and avoid a trial, although he said the deal was not yet finalized. That possibility was revealed during a brief court hearing today in Orlando, Florida. After the hearing, Greenberg's lawyer offered this somewhat cryptic yet ominous assessment.
I'm sure Matt Gaetz is not feeling very comfortable today.
Does Joel consider Matt Gaetz a friend, or has he cut ties?
In any case I have, if there's other potential co-defendants I preclude my clients from talking to them.
Joel Greenberg's lawyer would not say specifically what his client knew, but the Washington Post reports he added, quote, his client was uniquely situated to help prosecutors and was seeking a deal, quote, with the least possible exposure. Gaetz has denied any wrongdoing, and earlier today, an unsigned letter of support was released by, quote, the women of U.S. Congresswoman Matt Gaetz's office. The letter praised him as a principled and morally grounded leader who has treated each and every one of us with respect. Thus, it goes on to say, we uniformly reject these allegations as false. Yet tonight, the New York Times reports a second senior aide to Gaetz quit late last week, hours after his communications director resigned, according to three people familiar with the decision. Tomorrow, Gaetz is scheduled to appear publicly for the first time since news broke about this federal investigation. He'll be speaking to a pro-Trump women's group at the former president's Doral Resort in Florida. Katie, we have been hearing from you since the night you broke this story. Tell us the latest news on Matt Gaetz.
So what we saw today is in the trial of his friend Joel Greenberg, who's accused of many crimes, including child sex trafficking. And Mr. Greenberg's lawyer and the prosecutors in the case basically said that they were working toward a plea deal. Clearly, Mr. Greenberg, he faces a lot of jail time, a mandatory of 12 years, many decades more if he's not given some sort of break. And I think looking at the facts, all sides agree that it would be best for him to come to an agreement, to plead guilty, and to cooperate in the investigation. This is really difficult for Mr. Gaetz because Joel Greenberg is uniquely situated, as his lawyer said, provided information, particularly about a 17-year-old girl who both men are thought to have had sex with, and provided free hotel and other things. Now, that would fall under child sex trafficking, which is a mandatory 10 years in jail.
Cynthia, tell me a little bit about this potential deal. His lawyer, Joel Greenberg's lawyer, has alluded to it. He said that they're working on one. It hasn't been finalized. What can we surmise with respect to Joel Greenberg and the more than 30 felony charges against him, and whether or not he may be cooperating in a larger probe into Matt Gaetz?
Well, I think we can surmise that sitting in jail awaiting trial has focused his mind and inspired him to make a deal. And we know that based on the sort of the colloquy in the courtroom and also all the little breadcrumbs that his lawyer left outside the courthouse suggesting that there was a deal. Now, let's just think about that. All of the the financial transactions between them would then be available and easy to find by the federal prosecutors. For example, tonight, the Daily Beast is reporting that Matt Gaetz at one point Venmoed Greenberg $900, and the next morning Greenberg is Venmoing young women. And he can explain all those things. I mean, it's just shocking that Matt Gaetz had a Venmo account that was public. And here's a little tip for future defendants. When you can get a Venmo account in the little box in the corner and you can pick either private or public, pick the private one. I mean, it's just amazing that he had a public Venmo account. But anyway, all of the details between their relationship will come out, and Greenberg will give that information. He will not be a witness in any case because he doesn't really have any credibility at all because, let's face it, he's a scumbag. And what will happen is the prosecutors then can track, and the FBI can track all of his information, get it corroborated, and get independent witnesses to tell the story of what these men were doing. If, in fact, they were having sex with underage girls or flying people to the Bahamas, essentially for prostitution.
We haven't been able to independently confirm the Venmo part of the story, but the other way you could look at this, Cynthia, is you could just not make it private and just not commit crimes when you're Venmoing people money. Jonathan Lemire, we've been wondering what Republicans are going to do about this, and it seems that most people have been keeping mum until something that looks like a formal charge or more information comes out. But on the strength of this reporting, including Katie's reporting tonight, we have got a tweet from Representative Adam Kinzinger. He's calling for Gaetz to resign. And it's quite simple. It says Matt Gaetz needs to resign. Not a lot of love lost between Adam Kinzinger, who sort of stood up to Donald Trump as well, and Matt Gaetz.
No, and first of all, Ali, sage advice when it comes to the public versus private Venmo accounts. I think that this is not a surprising take from Congressman Kinzinger, who has been one of the few Republicans to really sort of break with President Trump and former President Trump and his disciples, of which Congressman Gaetz is certainly one of the more ardent ones, where he's really patting himself as an heir to the MAGA throne. And Kinzinger, of course, has said that former President Trump is toxic to the Republican Party, and he's founded a group to try to unseat these Republicans and replace them with more moderate members, ones occasionally willing to work across the aisle with Democrats. But at least so far, his voice is fairly lonely. Gaetz, of course, as you noted, is going to be in Florida this week at President Trump's former club. And also this weekend, there's a gathering of top Republicans at, where else? Palm Beach, Florida, just up the road from Mar-a-Lago, the former president's estate. And there is expected to be an event there, which just underscores what a shadow he still casts over the Republican Party. It'll be interesting in light of these new revelations if there are other Republicans who say enough's enough and start calling for Congressman Gaetz's resignation. But we have seen as a pattern, Republicans not as quick to do that as Democrats when one of their own members is embroiled in some sort of scandal. But one has to assume that Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who, of course, Congressman Gaetz so publicly targeted not that long ago because she went after former President Trump, I imagine she is enjoying these developments, even if she hasn't commented publicly just yet.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.